I made poor life choices, and now here I am trying to dig myself out.
Get the tea, get the popcorn.
But then we got into a bidding war. It drove up the cost by about $200,000.
It did not drive anything. Y'all drove it up.
I know that I'm broke. I know that my monthly payments exceed what I make, which is why I work the hours of two human beings.
What was I thinking? I'm broke for real. Trailer park, me please. Apartment, me please. Townhouse, me please. I'm tired. I want to go to bed.
Let's take a look and see how much I worked last pay period just to live paycheck to paycheck. For some background, I am the sole income earner for a family of 5, and I'm about $700,000 in debt. Most of that is my home, but still, it's a lot. I know there's a lot of other people out there that are in the same situation as me, and I think we need to start talking about it more.
But family of 5 is a lot. And she said it's a lot of people out there in that same situation. Where y'all at? Are y'all rich? 5 what? 5 fish? 5 cats and dogs? Or we talking 5 humans? Living, breathing beings? All right. Bless y'all soul. So this is her pay right here.
This week, I had 3 night shifts followed by 1 day off where I had 2 meetings, followed by 3 day shifts, totaling 75 hours.
And the following week, she worked 62 hours. Y'all, let me know how many hours y'all are working per week. Does this seem like the new normal to be working around 60-some hours? Like, I know anything above 40, a lot of people are like, I don't need to do it. I shouldn't have to do it. However, 40 hours just isn't enough for a lot of people. So you got to do what you got to do. Either you might have to get you a little side job, a little side hustle, or you got to clock in them extra hours and get some extra shifts. And luckily for some people, they even get paid time and a half. But considering she said she was supporting 5 people, that sounded about right to me. I didn't say it was going to be fun. I have a lot more questions.
You can see how much I worked last pay period just to live paycheck to paycheck. For some background, I am the sole income earner for a family of 5, and I'm about $700,000.
$700,000 in debt, including her house. How much is the house? Because, hold up, 70,000? 7,000 wow grand in debt, including your house. Either we got a really expensive house or she has a lot of debt. And she said most of it was the house. Where you live at, ma'am? Because that amount is given California. Because bless her soul.
I feel like it's time for a story about my life and how I ended up in the position that I am in. Of course, it's by no one's fault except for my own. I made poor life choices, and now here I am trying to dig myself out.
You know the story finna get interesting. As soon as somebody start with, I made poor life decisions and I pretty much put myself in this position, we already know. Get the tea, get the popcorn, because I think we're about to go on a ride. And ironically, she's driving in the car.
So I bought a house super, super inflated, one that I could not afford. I got into a bidding war. And I had to get really creative with how I purchase it. And I had to take out 3 loans, essentially. Traditional mortgage, a HELOC, and then I borrowed for my retirement.
Wait, what? Traditional loan, HELOC, and then she borrowed from... she took out money from her 401k? What? I have never heard of... that's interesting. And I'm not saying it to be judgmental. This took the term special financing to the next level. If you know, you know. And for you to take out a HELOC, you already have to have a property. So more than likely, she was living somewhere else, had equity in that home, took out a loan against that home to use as a down payment, which a lot of people do that in order to secure other properties and to buy more real estate. But then she also used money from her retirement. And then she had another loan on top of that. This is interesting.
Shouldn't have done that at all, but I did it. And here I am trying to dig myself out of it.
Right.
I guess I'm not blaming anyone else. I'm not justifying what I did. It was a terrible decision, but I did it. What am I going to do?
And you know what? I say it all the time. I appreciate the honesty and I appreciate the accountability. We all do some stuff sometimes that's like, why the heck did I do that? A lot of people may be watching this video and be in a situation to where you really want a house and you're like, hey, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to come up with the money. And they might do something like this. Sharing is caring. I want to give you guys a little bit of insight into bidding wars. If you don't own a home or you've never had to shop for real estate, just visualize a bidding war like an auction. You know, when people are like outside of a building, 152, 153, 154, 155, that's you. Y'all are literally just trying to outbid each other for the house. And To be honest, you want to know who wins in that situation? The seller of the home loves that. If you are the seller of the home, that is the best thing for you to see, because you're like, oh, not only am I about to get paid probably what I am trying to sell my house for, oh, they fighting over the house? They're willing to go tit for tat, big bank take little bank. So when you are a part of a bidding war, you are a participant. You are a person that is like, hey, I'm not finna let you outdo me for this house. I'm gonna one-up you every time. If you say 155, I'm gonna say 158. And y'all just keep going back and forth until somebody get tired. And every bidding war doesn't mean that you are paying above asking price or you're overpaying for the house, but a lot of times they are. And in her case, she was one of them people. Very sad. So when I hear bidding war, I'm already a little shooketh, because how far did you take it, ma'am? Oh,
So fast forward 3 years, right now,
okay.
my house is worth less than what I paid for it. So it would be a huge financial loss to try to sell it and get out from under the loan. I could do it. I could sell it and move to somewhere that is a much lower cost of living. But again, that would be like throwing away at least $100,000.
Oh, 100,000? Wow. Negative $100,000 in equity? That hurt oh my goodness. I'm not gonna lie. If it's really eating you up like that though, because she has so many people that seem to be depending on her, because she's the breadwinner, head of the household. If it were me, I might have to just say, hey, we might have to take the loss on that. Because I'm a firm believer in this life. You win some and you lose some. You can't win them all. Gotta know when to hold them and when to fold them.
I don't really want to do that. So I'm just trudging through. I'm just trying to keep my head above water.
Yeah.
And I know that I am not the only one who is in this sort of situation. Like, there's none of the options are good.
Right. Yeah.
But I just have to keep paying. And no matter how much money you throw at it, it feels like you don't even make a dent. And it's exhausting. I mean, I posted how much I worked in a pay period. That's exhausting. And it's not just a one-off pay period.
Right.
That is what I'm doing week after week after week, year after year.
And I'm going to be honest, doing that for a house that seems to be the reason why she has to work that much, a lot of people would consider this the definition of house poor. Now, I'm going to look it up because I know a lot of people may have heard these terms, but these aren't terms people are just saying just to be rude. Now, this is according to Rocket Mortgage. Now, the definition of house poor refers to the situation where a home buyer buys a home beyond their means, which is almost exactly what she did here, to her own admission. And their new home becomes more of a financial burden than a positive investment. Struggling to keep up with housing expenses doesn't leave a lot of room for fun or discretionary spending either. And it even goes as far as to give y'all a little game by saying to fully enjoy life in your new home, you should figure out ahead of time just how much house you can afford so you don't end up house poor. And to her statement she said earlier, she's absolutely right. A lot of people are dealing with that. They may not have the weight of taking care of 5 people as she does. However, a lot of people are house poor, and that is their main thing that's keeping them stressed is their house. They have way too much they're paying on their mortgage, and it's doing them in financially. So much so to where a lot of people end up selling their homes for a loss because they can't keep up with the cost of home ownership, which is extremely sad because a lot of these homes people end up selling for like way less than what they paid for it. Somebody is coming in essentially getting it for such a bargain, and this might have been your dream home. This is why it's so important to understand if you can truly afford your mortgage in the house that you live in, you might even just be getting too much house. But I know that a lot of people want to be homeowners so bad that they just kind of disregard these things in the home buying process. These are some of the most important things to think about. Long term, even property taxes can do you in if you don't understand how that works. And I especially feel for her because she's doing this on a single income.
I've lived in this house now for 3 years.
Right.
I have not been able to afford my mortgage from day one.
What, ma'am? Day one is crazy. I'm sorry, y'all. Day one is wild because when you're working with the lender, your loan originator and all of that, when you're going through the home loan process, they're telling you what your payment would be. So I'm a little confused unless she got an arm. Now, I ain't gonna tell nobody what to do, but y'all, that might not be the best because them interest rates be up and down. But if you got a fixed interest rate, you should have already had an idea of what that mortgage rate was going to be every month. Now, not going to say that things like property taxes and stuff like that can't affect how much you're going to end up paying per month on your house, because anybody that own a home, Like, y'all know if your insurance goes up or your property taxes go up, your escrow goes up, that means you're going to pay more every month to the company that owns your home. But we talking day one here. Day one, you were already in distress. If you haven't closed on the house, you can still step away. Let somebody else have that headache. If they can afford it, let them do it. You might have to like lose a little bit of money because you're walking away, depending on the agreement that y'all have said already, how far in the process you are. But y'all, the alternative of not being able to afford your mortgage every month and knowing that and still going through with it, you might just go ahead and clock yourself in for the next 30 years or however long that mortgage is for overtime. Because it's really no different than any other sort of debt that we talking about. The money got to come from somewhere. That means overtime, side hustle, get you a business, whatever you got to do to get the money, you got to do it because it's not going to come out of the air. And as you can see, I'm actually glad that she showed that she was clocking in them extra hours because that is a visualization of what I be talking about when I say you might as well go ahead and clock yourself in if you out there doing stuff that you can't afford to do. That's exactly what happens. You are going to live at your job. Forget work-life balance. Like, what is that? I know a lot of people like to bring up, well, I shouldn't have to. A lot of people do things to where you can't have work-life balance because you have to pay your mortgage or they're going to foreclose on your house. And you got 5 people depending on you, so you really can't afford that, but you got a little bit more house than you should have got. You overbid on the house and you couldn't afford the payment from day one. The writing was on the wall that the overtime had to be overtiming. And I really hate to see that for anybody because this is a really sad and also preventable situation to be in. And I want to know, does she have a husband? Because she said family of 5.
I have had to work overtime to pay every single month.
Yes.
And I've done it. I've done it for 3 years. And there are months that I get so burnt out and just say, I can't do this any longer. And I re-examine, recalculate. I try to see where we can cut costs, re-budget. Like, I get a lot of feedback that I'm living beyond my needs.
Ma'am, no shade, no matcha tea. Yes, ma'am. You're the definition of living above your means. And I mean that in the most loving, nice way. This is very painful to hear. I need to know where the husband is. Is there a husband? Because in situations like this, you really only have 2 options. I keep telling people think there is a sexy option to figuring out these sort of things. You don't have many options. You either can cut back on your lifestyle or you can clock into work. 5 + 4 = 9. I don't know what else because let's think about this, y'all. If you write down how much you make every single month and you say, hey, this is how much I'm getting paid and this is what my expenses are every month. If the numbers ain't coming out what they need to come out, you got to go clock in. Or whoever is able to work in that house need to go work because there is no budget you can do if you just simply don't have enough money. There's not. If you can't cut back enough, I'm not talking about all the people that just like to spend a lot of money. I'm talking about like if you actually cannot do it after your necessities and whatever else life throw at you, you might be doing a little too much. And it's really sad because you can tell that she's aware of this and she knows it because she is working the overtime, which proves my point. There is no other way.
Well, no, I bought a house that I can't afford. I'm acknowledging that. I'm making this TikTok because of that. I know that I'm broke. I know that my monthly payments exceed what I make, which is why I work the hours of 2 human beings.
This is so crazy because I promise you all, I have never seen this video. And I just said she was self-aware in different words. But she is self-aware. She knows. And there is no other way. Except whoever can all work in the house got to work and chip in. Or she got to work more. Or she has to lower her lifestyle, which is what I was saying earlier with the live below your means. See, a lot of people think living within your means is going to do it. You got to live below if you really want to come out on top. You live far below if you really, really want to come out on top. Here's what I mean. Say your means is $4,000. You can't spend $4,000. That's living within your means, right according to your means. What you want to do is if you make $4,000, when we say live below the means, we mean you make 4, you live on $2,800. Or you make $4,000 currently and you say, hey, I don't really want to just live on $2,800. And you say, well, I'm going to make $6,000 and then I'm going to be able to live off of $4,000. You're still below your means. See, that's the only way this works, y'all. And if you want to save, you see this little gap right here, this little tiny gap that I got. That gap is the savings. That gap is what you put aside for retirement. That's what you put aside in your brokerage account every month. This is the vacation money that a lot of y'all use Klarna and Afterpay, Affirm, all these buy now, pay later services. That's where that money come from. But when you doing this, that money don't never exist. So you always are one tire away. You one tire away from everything just blowing up because you ain't got no wiggle room. You see how I had a little wiggle room there? You ain't got no wiggle room. And she don't have no wiggle room. Not only do you not have wiggle room, but you just signed away your future at your job because you can't afford the life you're living. Something has to give. It's either going to be your house or it's going to be you. And in this case, it is showing to be her, which is very sad. And a lot of people go through this, but I hate to see that, especially when it's preventable.
But every single time I do budget and I do crunch my numbers, I don't really see anything that I can really cut down on except for interest.
You can't do it. You have to make more income or you have to lower your lifestyle. And I just can't help but to get fired up about this stuff, especially like with somebody I feel like knows, with all due respect. She seems like she's very wise and self-aware. I'm like, the house gotta go or you gotta clock in.
Which I can't do anything about except for paying more money. I don't really see anything that I can really cut down on except for interest, which I can't do anything about except for paying more money. So that's what I do. I just work more and work more and work more and pay more and pay more, hoping that eventually it will start snowballing and I'll start to see some little bit of effect. But when you have such a high lump sum, $700,000, it's so slow to really see any sort of headway. So my point is, when you're drowning or not quite drowning, you're treading water, but you're starting to get very, very fatigued. It's really hard. And I know that I'm not the only person that is in the same situation.
Right.
There's plenty of other people who are treading water just like I am, to stay afloat and just to not file bankruptcy. Like every single month that goes by, I am just so elated that I didn't have to foreclose on my house. I am just ecstatic. I can't believe it. And that could just be really draining.
Yeah.
Like, that's your monthly goal, is to not default on your house payment. What else is there to do besides go to sleep, wake up, drink coffee, wash your face, and just go back to work? I only really have one job, but I work the hours of two. I know there's a lot of people out there that have their like salary job, but then also do any and every side hustle they could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that. I actually can go to the same place, but I just can work essentially unlimited hours.
Well, that's good.
So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'm here being vulnerable and exposing my terrible life decisions and my hardships and putting my heart on the table for you guys.
Yeah.
Just because I want to try to build a community like scenario people, of people that are in my same situation. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear your stories. I want us to build each other up. I've gotten a lot of amazing feedback, like just encouragement and wonderful words. And I want to be able to do the same thing for other people. And just like use my life to maybe make you feel better about yours. Like maybe you will think, wow, my mortgage isn't that bad. Or I guess I've got more downtime than her. I don't know. I just, if I can be a little bit of positivity in someone else's life, then maybe that makes my scenario, my situation worth it.
One good thing about this is that she is a nurse, even though she's saying she's a broke nurse. Like, according to her, pound broke nurse. But her being able to get them extra hours in is really her saving grace right now, because it just seems like she has a lot on her plate.
I want to set the record straight for the situation that I am living in. So
There's more?
I bought a house that I couldn't afford about 3 years ago. And let me give you a little bit more details than that, like the full story. So
I'm low-key scared to hear I thought we got there's more? Well, I'm gonna listen. I'm okay with that.
I put my house on the market in May of 2022. And in order to put my house on the market, we had to get out of the house because I have 3 children. There are 5 of us that are living in a house. And it was just impossible to keep clean and to be able to show the house while we were living there. So we went on a remote camping trip, something cheap, got out of the house, and we were away from any sort of cell signal. While we were gone, we sold the house. Yay! But also the interest rates doubled, essentially. We had like a 2.5% interest rate, and interest rates went to 5.5%, 6% when we got back and rejoined society. So we had a very, 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 very small area of land to look for a house. So just for reference, I live in a very large metro area, a city.
I just was feeling like it's Cali because why was her stuff was high. You live in California, don't you?
In order for my children to stay in the same school district, we could only be in 1 square mile radius. If we went outside of those borders, we would be uprooting my 3 children from school. And it was already a really challenging time because
You know what?
where we were was wrapping up. Kids were going back to school. And so it was already a lot of moving parts and instability for my children. And so we wanted to keep things as stable as we could. So we did not want to change school districts.
Is this a little harsh of me to say they would have been okay? Like, time to make some new friends. You know, go play with little Tommy up there up the block or Angelica. If it's going to cost more just because I'm trying to stay in that certain box, what? Like, I'm getting out the box. Now, I know a lot of the parents gonna be like, Symone, you don't understand. The kids' instability, blah, blah, like, money talks. The BS gotta walk. I'm sorry. Is the kids gonna help me pay this mortgage or not? Because if I'm the mom, we gotta go rocking the floor because unless you just want to eat rice and beans, beanie weenies, hamburger helper, hot dogs, that's just gonna be that on that.
So we only had a 1 square mile area that we could look at.
No, 1 square. When we talking about a bubble, ma'am, you were really restricted with your options. She ain't even talking about 30 minutes to the left or to the right. 1 mile? Nah, you gotta miss me with that one. I'm sorry.
When interest rates doubled, no one put their house on the market.
Yeah, because they already knew. A lot of people who got their houses on the market right now, the house has been sitting for 120 days. You come back on Zillow, you see 10 grand less, 20 grand less. And speaking of that, you know who's really winning because of that? The people who have cash, the people who are actually able to be like, hey, I'll take it off your hands. Your house might be going for $200,000. They'll be like, hey, give it to me for $150. I got the $150 right here. Do you want it or not? And do y'all want to know what's really going on? The deals are getting cut because a lot of people can't afford to keep losing money on their houses. They can't afford to stay there, but they also know not too many people are coming with the cash ready to buy the house because a lot of people aren't in the market because the interest rates are too high. When the interest rates are too high, people aren't going to be rushing out in the market and doing bid wars. It's not going down like that, especially if the houses are overpriced. But if you got a house going for a pretty decent price, you might see some bidding wars. Just think about the houses that are in foreclosures. These people are bidding for those houses because they're dirt cheap. They are dirt cheap. That's where you'll get a bidding war, or if the house is in a really good spot. Well, there is a lot of different reasons why there might be a bidding war.
So we were frozen. There were no houses popping up for sale. We had already sold our house. We looked for rentals. There were no rentals. It's very, very cutthroat to get a rental property. I did it years ago before we broke into the housing market.
Man.
But it's very hard. I mean, you have to hear from a friend about another person who's about to like move out of an apartment or a house that's being rented. It's very difficult to get a rental if you're like limited by area and looking for something very specific.
And that's the problem, is that when you want to be in a specific spot, of course you're gonna have competition. And I understand she wanted the kids to go to a good school or whatever the case is, but you know, at this point, extend the horizon, man. Extend the horizon.
So we looked for rentals. There were none in our area. There was 2 houses that went on the market while we were looking.
Right.
And one of them was $500,000 cash only, non-mortgageable. Like, just ridiculous things.
And this did not just say it, y'all. I have never seen this. If you got the cash, money talks. Money talk every time. All that other stuff people be talking about, blah, 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 blah. That's all people hear in the market. When you come with that cash in hand, you say, hey, I'm ready. Everybody else getting put on mute.
So the house that we ended up purchasing went on the market at the very top of our budget. We put a bid on it, but then we got into a bidding war. It drove up the cost by about $200,000.
No, y'all drove up the cost 200,000. I just caught that she said 200,000. It just registered. It did not drive anything. Y'all drove it up. Y'all, whoever was in that war, y'all drove it up. Like, she's saying it like it was the algorithm. It was the algorithm. This was y'all. This was human interaction drove up the price of that house.
And we won. But we didn't agree to it quite yet. We gave it a lot of time. We actually negotiated with the buyer of our old home so that we negotiated rent back so that we could stay in our house a little bit longer just to try to see if there's anything else that popped up on the market. It didn't. Nothing did. So we ultimately decided, okay, let's take out the mortgage for the amount that we said that we could afford. We was the top of our amount that we would be willing to pay, but that we could afford.
Right.
Let's take out a traditional mortgage for that and then get creative to make up for the extra $200,000.
And she said, get creative? Oh, we knew we was doomed after that. You want me to get creative about $200,000 above asking price? No, I'm a plain Jane. Y'all got it. Y'all got it. What was I thinking? I'm broke for real. I ain't really got it like that. I'm a plain Jane. I don't care. Call me what you want. Just don't call me to sign that mortgage for that house or on closing, because I ain't got not coming. I promise you. Get creative about $200,000. Oh, $200,000 is a lot of extra money when you ain't got the $200,000. Do you know in some areas that's a whole nother house, especially if you find a good deal. What the realtor say? I know the realtor was out there like, we got us one here, boys. What? And a lot of these realtors be sitting there watching these bidding wars going on, knowing good and well that they clients is getting done in. And they're going to let you do it because they're going to get paid.
So with the intent of working like absolute insanity, working overtime to try to pay down that $200,000 as quick as possible. So the only way to get to a comfortable life for me is to pay that $200,000 down as fast as possible. So that's why I'm working 70 hours a week, because I want to get to the point where I just can work full time and that's it. So I am not trying to make it sound like I'm in a worse situation than I am. I know there are much worse people out there, like people in $200,000 consumer credit. I never have been claiming that that is my situation. I put myself into this situation. It's all my own fault. And so I am going to dig my way out of it. And the way forward is by working a ton of overtime.
What's really sad is this was the plan from the beginning, was to work more overtime to pay off the $200,000. And didn't she say that she took out a HELOC? And then didn't she also say she took out a 401k and then had some other sort of loan? So she's clocking in order to pay that stuff off. This is a lot.
Because a lot of people were saying like, this isn't making sense, or file for bankruptcy. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep working.
Okay.
I will pay down this mortgage.
I hope so.
I will pay it off early. I'm just going to work like a mad woman in the meantime. Women empower women. Come on. Let's be there for each other. We can do this. We can do hard things.
Hey, and I ain't got nothing against women empowerment. Don't get me wrong. But I am an advocate, a strong advocate for common sense for all in making good financial decisions. And that ain't got no sex to it. That's male, female, Black, white, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, Mexican, green, yellow, purple. I don't care. You see, because one thing y'all got to realize is it don't have nothing to do with gender. It ain't got nothing to do with race. It ain't got nothing to do with all of that. Financial literacy and financial education is important for everybody because debt don't discriminate. When you make a bad financial decision, it won't discriminate against you. If you're a woman, if you're a man, if you're Black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. Debt coming for everybody can come for. And that's what I want people to remember. I don't care what you look like. You're not safe. If you're not educated, you are liable to make bad financial decisions to end up in situations like this. And when it happens, there's not going to be anything to stop you from making said bad decisions. You're going to be on your own. That might be a little too real for y'all, but it's the truth. But in this one, I'm so curious. We got to get into the comments of this, y'all. So the first comment here says, so I guess I'm not getting it. The first house you said you bought was too expensive, so you bought another house that was too expensive at a higher interest rate? Why didn't you just work overtime to pay the first house down then? How much was the first house compared to the second mortgage? She ended up replying, sorry, I guess I need to talk about my first mortgage / house. But that house was bought for around $500,000. Oh my. Okay. And then our next one was supposed to be for $650,000. And we would use our equity plus large profit that we made off the first one to build that $150,000 difference. But instead, we got into a bidding war, which drove the price up. So ultimately, we bought a new home for $815,000. Oh my gosh! What? $815,000. When in reality, we shouldn't have. So now I work double my regular hours to pay that additional $175K off in as close to 5 years as possible. Y'all, she has almost $1 million house And that's not including the interest. No wonder she's stressed out. No wonder she's clocking in like this. I ain't gonna lie, I had to let it go. If it was me, the house gotta go. Off of one income as a nurse and there's 5 people you're supporting, it might be a little too much house. I might be in over my head. I might want to live in this spot where this school system is nice and this, but I can't afford it. Trailer park me, please. Apartment me, please. Townhouse me, please. And even if you didn't want to do all of that, because y'all might be saying, Symone, you being a little extreme. Maybe, perhaps. But at least I'm going outside 30 minutes from where I'm at. I'm not talking no mile. She was talking about a mile, which is keeping her boxed in at these prices. Because wherever she's trying to live at, y'all, it got a hold on this lady. Bless her soul. This must be a very nice, upper echelon, highly prestigious neighborhood with a lot of opportunities. Great school system, great grocery store, great shopping, everything must just be right there, because I don't understand what the issue would be going 20, 30 minutes every which way of the compass. And then somebody said, thank you for being honest and vulnerable. I'm learning for real. But this the part that got me right here, y'all. She said, you are amazing. I'm hoping to trauma bond with people on here. Ma'am, that right there, that was enough. That did it for me. I'm not trying to trauma bond with none of you. I'm trying to get some money so I can pay off this mortgage. Trauma bond for what? What is trauma bonding gonna do to get me about this situation? Can y'all pay a bill? Can y'all help me with a mortgage payment? What is trauma bonding doing for me? I don't understand that. And I'm all for sharing a story to help people, like, trust. I appreciate that. It does help people. But to say you're trying to trauma bond with somebody, that's taking a little far, man. Woo, the comments a lot. And then she says, somebody here says, I feel like your children would have been just fine starting at a new school district. Okay, right. And then she said, I'm sure they would have. We didn't want to have to move them though. See, y'all see this word? We didn't want to move them though. See, these wants gonna do a lot of y'all in. How many video after video after video do we have to show that people's wants and desires are the thing that is driving them into debt, driving them into being house poor, hood rich, bank account on below zero? Like what? Then she said, we built a community of friendship, but it's great that every family gets to choose how they raise their children. And she's right. Those are her kids at the end of the day, and whatever she's going through is going to be on her. But ain't enough community and friendship unless they tapping in to help me pay my mortgage. And all y'all finna know my struggle if I'm staying. And the only reason I'm staying is if y'all finna give me some money. Because what is the community and the friendships doing to help me not clock in the word? I'm clocking in. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I don't want to be friends. Okay, let me see what else being said. Someone here said, this one got a lot of likes. I just feel like you shouldn't be playing the sympathy card and then at the same time saying, don't feel bad for me. Tell your man to get a job. Damn, came through with the shots fired. Bang, bang. Ooh, sell your house, move to another school district if you have to. It's not the end of the world. I mean, the delivery was a little, but I'm going to read. I'm sorry if I made the impression that I was playing the sympathy card, but if I said I was exhausted in the previous videos, it's just raw emotions that I truly feel some days. After working 74 hours in a week, I am human. Even if I am making good money, I still get sad, I get tired and cranky sometimes. Like we all do. Smiley face. I'm just trying to be vulnerable and show people that we can do hard things and get ourselves out of less than ideal situations, parentheses, of our own creations. And sometimes in life, knowing how to get yourself out of that situation is knowing when to say when and knowing when to cut your losses. And I'm not telling anybody what to do. It's just something I've even dealt with in my own life. But I wish her well, like however she decides to do it. But she has the choice, but she is choosing to clock in and to do the overtime. And with that, she is tired. She's exhausted. And I'm sure she is. And somebody here said having a stay-at-home dad is not a luxury you can currently afford. Wait, when did she say that he was a stay-at-home dad? And then they go on to say, and at any time you're home, he should be working, even if it's just remote. He could also be a PCNA in bringing in cash. You work 12s nights. He can work 12s on days, or princess 4-hour shifts so you can still sleep. Been there, done that. Seems like it's an excuse for him to get to be home. Ooh, okay. I didn't know that that's what was going on, but she ends up confirming he is a stay-at-home dad, I guess. And she says it's more effective for me to work overtime than for him to have a job as well. So, hey, that's their household. That's how they doing it. But then they replied back saying, there's no reason to have an able-bodied adult in the house not working when there is so much debt and your spouse is giving up the ghost, working 6/12s. At the very least, the workload could be split up so you could actually have time with your children who need their mom. And why bother going through with the sale of your house? This is just an unreal amount of bad decisions. And I don't know, y'all. The comments just keep on getting worse and worse. Just asking her, why did she sell the house? And people are like, yeah, why ain't nobody answering that? And then they saying bad decision after bad decision. Somebody else is here saying your husband needs to get a job. I believe you can pay down your mortgage with his help. Teamwork. Y'all, this video was a lot, but I need to know something really important. Would you ever get yourself in a bidding war for a house and pay above the asking price how you seen her do in this video? Do you think it's worth it as a parent to stay in a certain location to ensure that your children are going to the same school if you truly can't afford to live in that area? Would you be willing to pay more to stay in said area? And I definitely got to ask you all, how do you feel about the fact that her husband is a stay-at-home dad? Now, I know y'all gonna have some smoke, but be sure to consider, is the smoke the same if it's a stay-at-home mom? Does the answer then change? Should he have to get a job to help support his family? A 5. Let me know what you think about all this down below. We have to start making better decisions today in order to have a better future.